Hi, my name is Mike Coleman. I'm a developer advocate on the Falco project, and I want to tell you a little bit today about what's new in the 0.35 Falco release. Before I get into that though, let me describe the Falco project in case you're not familiar with it. We are a CNCF incubating project that provides runtime security for cloud, Kubernetes, and container environments. We can use real-time insights to alert you to unusual activities such as intrusion, data theft, or config changes by looking at things like Kubernetes audit logs or Linux system calls. You, of course, can find out all about Falco by visiting our website, falco.org. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about what's new in 0.35. The first feature I want to talk about is adaptive system calls, or adaptive syscalls. Prior to 0.35, Falco had a static set of system calls that it would collect regardless of what was defined in your rule set. Additionally, if you wanted to log and trace a system call that wasn't part of that rule set, or that static set, you would have to enable Falco with the -A flag, start it up with the -A flag, and that was going to go out and collect every system call that Falco supports. Now, this could be an unnecessary amount of system resource overhead because you're looking at a bunch of system calls you don't need to. With 0.35 and adaptive syscalls, we actually now choose which syscalls to look at based on two factors. The first is a static set of system calls, and we use those to approximate system state. Now, those can be configured via your falco.yaml file if you want to customize them. And then the second set are going to be the syscalls that get activated via your rule set. So with 0.35, the activated and collected system calls are a combination of that static set and then one that is rule-based, the rule-based on your Falco rules. There are a set of high I/O system calls that we're always going to exclude by default. And if you want to take a look at those, that's where that -A option comes in. So if you run Falco with -A, you can then go ahead and collect those high I/O system calls as well. All right, the next feature I want to talk about is the modern EBF Probe. Now, that's moving from experimental to general availability. So it was released in late 2022. There's a lot of information out there about it already, so I am not going to go ahead and recap all of that. I just want to highlight a couple of things that are pretty cool about this new probe. First, it is embedded in Falco, so you don't have to build or download anything. If you have a compatible Linux kernel, we're going to automatically inject that probe for you, and you don't have to do anything. Now, to figure out whether or not you have a compatible Linux kernel, visit our documentation. The other thing we've done is prior to the previous probe, it used one memory buffer for each CPU, right? And it was a fixed size. And what we've done now is you can have a custom sized buffer for all your CPUs. And that allows you to do fine-grained memory optimization, right? You're not allocating memory you don't need. You can set the custom size and optimize that memory. The third feature I want to talk about is changes to our plugins API. Now, plugins are a way for you to customize Falco event sources. So there's a plugin written for Okta, for instance, and it takes Okta log entries and emits them as Falco events, and then you can activate on those, you can monitor them and alert on those as necessary. And you can write a plugin for any number of different sources. Now, with the changes to the plugin API, their plugins will be more powerful than ever. A couple of the key changes are, one, we're going to have much better state management with the plugin API than we had previously, and two, we are going to be able to read the incoming syscall events. So both of those things will help you create better plugins than before. Now, two more quick things I want to note about 0.35. First is the deprecation of Mesos. So we started a soft deprecation in 0.34. We were issuing warnings with Falco, and in 0.35, Mesos has been removed as an event source for Falco. The second thing I want to mention is all of our official container images have been signed with cosign. An open source project allows you to digitally sign your artifacts so that when you deploy them into production, you can be assured of their provenance, right? You know where they came from. So that's what's new in 0.35. Is the big ones I highlighted were the modern EBF Probe, the move to adaptive syscalls, and changes to our plugin architecture. Now, we always love to include new people into our community, and there's a bunch of different ways you can get involved. So the first is every Wednesday we have a community call on Zoom. You can join us for that. We, of course, have a Slack channel. It's #Falco on the Kubernetes Slack. And then, of course, our GitHub repository. I hope to see you on one of those platforms in the very near future.